And I think people should be reminded that both Biden and Trump, during the election cycle, opposed what, in effect, was an acquisition by Nippon Steel of U.S. Steel. Cleveland-Cliffs wanted to buy U.S. Steel.
Right.
Both Biden and Trump opposed it on the theory that it would lead to the loss of American jobs. The fear being that Nippon would close American plants, transfer production to Japan. So now with this iteration, you asked the right question. Is this a partnership, or is that a public relations move? Is it still the original deal, which really was an acquisition? And what protections are going to be there? We took a position from a jobs perspective. So
you
I
were
think
concerned about some of the black communities there, right? In
Gary,
terms of the
Indiana, and a number of
impact.
other places, and steel, and we're in a conversation where we're talking about manufacturing. So the real impact question is, will this protect American steel jobs, or will it potentially lead to the transfer of production to Japan?
Well, I will say the president said that it would create at least 70,000 jobs and add $14 billion to the U.S. economy. But as we did just hear from Richard Bork, he has a hard time imagining that after investing $14 billion, then Nippon Steel would add an additional $14 billion to the U.S. economy.
And the question is, are there any guarantees? And I think we all need to watch for the details, understand the specifics, because those jobs and those communities have been heavily dependent on those types of jobs.
Well, just to contextualize the 70,000, that's just a massive number of jobs, especially for the steel industry. U.S. Steel only has 22,000 employees right now.
Yeah, and I hope it's not a lot of hype, you know, and I think that we owe it to look at the transaction and see what impact it'll have, what guarantees are going to be there for American workers, and what are the guarantees that 5 years from now, there's not a decision made, a reversal, and the jobs move to Japan or they move abroad for some reason. So that's really what, if you will, handcuffs and guardrails are going to be placed on this transaction. Till we see what they file, until we see what they promise, it's hard to know. But it's interesting that the president opposed it as a candidate. Biden opposed it as a candidate. The union opposed it as a candidate. Union opposed it last year.
Right.
And there was an American suitor for U.S. Steel, Cleveland-Cliffs, right? So there's a lot to unpack here. And I just, we work hard on the issue of jobs.
Right.
And we're very focused on transactions to determine whether it's going to have a positive or negative impact on the communities we serve.
Well, look,
you want to talk George Floyd?
Well, wait,
I do want to in a minute.
Yeah, right.
I want to stay with this for a moment.
Stay on economic development and stay
Yeah.
on jobs, because as somebody who's been involved in government for so long, mayor of New Orleans, serving in the Louisiana State Senate, you understand this stuff. When it comes to economic development, take a big picture approach to what you view as the economic policy of the Trump administration and its effects on American jobs, because the president and the administration would say, hey, we are imposing tariffs to protect U.S. jobs.
I think a tariff approach without an industrial policy, which says what specific industries are you trying to grow? It appears to be a scattershot approach designed to leverage some deals without any specificity. So we're talking about iPhones, automobiles, blue jeans, toys. What specific? So I can buy the selective use of tariffs, the selective use of trying to rebuild an American industry, but you need an industrial or economic development policy that matches the tariffs in order to give certainty to American business and consumers.